Mamako's family, welcome. This is Sports Queen. My name is Witness. Guys, please join us by subscribing our channel and help us to reach 10,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel. And the recent transfer saga involving Baartman and Finallyreached Valebay has highlighted a complex legal and administrative battle in South African football following Cape Town Spurs' relegation from National First Division (NFD) to the immature ranks. Both players were declared free agent by PSL Dispute Resolution Chamber (DRC), paving the way for their potential move to Kaizer Chiefs. However, Spurs challenged these rulings, appealing to the South African Football Association (Safa) and triggering a formal attribution process. At the heart of the dispute is NSL Rule 24.4, which govern the contractual status of players whose club fall out of the professional league system. The outcome of the case could set a critical precedent for how players contract and treated following club relegation in South African football. So let's break on NSL Rule 24.4. NSL Rule 24.4 explains this rule is part of National Soccer League (NSL) handbook, which govern players' contract in South Africa Professional League (PSL) and NFB. So, if a club is relegated to immature ranks into Safa structure, the player registered to that club are automatically deemed free agent. This means their professional contracts are no longer binding. They are free to sign with another club without compensation being paid to relegated club. The club cannot block the move or demand a transfer fee. What qualifies as immature ranks? Immature ranks means Safa structure like Abik Motsepe League is lower. Once a club drop out of the NSL system, which include the STV Premiership and Motsepe Foundation Championship, it becomes a mature club under the Safa umbrella. Cape Town Spurs were relegated from Motsepe Foundation Championship and failed to meet licensing condition for the 2024-25 season, which likely placed them in Safa immature structure. Why this rule exists? To protect players from being locked into professional contract with immature clubs, to ensure players retain their livelihoods since immature clubs don't play professional level works, to prevent club from holding players hostage to extract transfer fee after being relegated. So how to affect the Baartman and Valebay case? In favor of the player and chief, if Spurs are official part of Safa immature system, then Rule 24.4 should apply. Then that would mean Baartman and Valebay are free agent. Chief can sign them without needing Spurs consent or paying a fee. The DRC correctly applied to run in both cases. So in favor of Spurs' possible judgment, Spurs may argue they still operate as a professional entity or are in transaction. They might say the player contract included clauses that survive relegation, meaning Rule 24.4 shouldn't apply. So all they should argue the relegation circumstances were unique and not the kind of rule was meant for. Legal interception matter. This all come down how Safa attributors Advocate Hilton Spirit interprets the scope of Rule 24.4, the stats of Cape Town Spurs post-relegation, the league of contract and question. So what is say? Player become free agent when their club drops to Safa immature ranks. This is NSL rule. Purpose to protect players from being trapped to immature level clubs. Spurs challenge argue that rule doesn't apply to them or contract still hold. Most likely rule applies, player a free agent, chief can sign them. So the PSL Dispute Resolution Chamber DRC ruled that both Baartman and Valebay could be declared free agent following Cape Town Spurs relegation because under NSL rules players become free agent when they are club drops to immature ranks. So Spurs have challenged those DRC decision and escalated to matter to Safa attribution to try to overturn them. Safa has appointed attributors senior advocate Hilton, who is expected to issue a judgment. Until Safa decision comes, the DRC ruling is in effect, but chief have been cautious about fielding to players until the Safa ruling is clear. So what is going on now? What's happening so far? DRC ruling in favor of the players. Spurs have appealed to Safa attribution. For Valebay, Spurs have launched appeal for Safa under the relevant NCL rule clause 24.5. As I explained to you there, Chief are cautious about playing them. Although in DRC rule cleared both players to be free agent, Chief have held off in feeding them until the Safa tributors issue binding decision. Wide implication delay. The South African Football Union Safa has expressed the frustration with the delays in Safa resolving appeals generation, citing this case as the example where justice being delayed because of the appeal, even though the DRC cleared the player. Those ruling is suspended until Safa finalize the process, meaning the player status is limbo. What is going right now? The ball is in Safa court. The attributor ruling is unweighted, and it should determine whether Baartman and Valebay can officially be registered and play for Chief, or whether their DRC free agent state will be overturned. Until that ruling is made, the status of both players is uncertain. Chief are not risking using them in official match. In effect, the DRC ruling favor the players, but are not yet final because of Safa proposal. So why it takes so long? First is Safa attribution process is slow by nature. Once a case is taken to Safa attribution, it involves formal legal process, appointing an attributors, gathering documentation, setting hiring dates, and ensuring both parties, Spurs and players steps plus Chief have time to submit evidence and argument. These processes are designed to ensure fairness, but they are often slow and bureaucratic. Also, appeal suspended DRC ruling. When Cape Town Spurs appeal to DRC ruling, that appeal automatically suspended to affect the decision. This suspension means that even though the DRC ruled in favor of the players, Safa appeal hearing must full concede before anything is official. So effective, the case was paused for several weeks once the appeal was submitted. Also limited resource to Safa. Safa has backlog of attribution cases and very few senior attributors are available to handle them. The appointed attributors in this case, Advocate Hilton, is a senior of experienced legal figure, which may also mean his time is limited. The South African Football Players Union Safa has even taken Safa to court over delayed justice, citing exactly this type of drawn-out attribution cases. Also, high stakes and careful deliberation. This case could set a precedent if Baartman and Valebay are declared free agent because Spurs were rejected to the immature ranks. It opened the door of many other players in a similar situation to leave club after rejection. Safa want to be very cautious in handling this, if their decision could influence how relegation, contract and player rights are treated going forward. So it should take this long, but in South African football, delay is in resolving contract and transfer dispute to Safa level is unfortunately common. Meanwhile, the players are stuck in limbo and a club like Chief cannot use them. So is there any possibility for Kaizer Chief to win this battle? Of course, yes. They prove the contract are still valid despite rejection. If Spurs can show the Baartman and Valebay sign contract that explicitly remain binding even after rejection of the immature ranks, then the attributors may side with them. They will demean the players who are not legal free agent when Chief signed them. The proof NSL Rule 24.4 doesn't apply to them. NSL Rule 24.4 states that when a club is rejected to the Safa immature structure, players become free agent. If Spurs can show that their structure, registration status, or the nature of their rejection doesn't mean that definition, they might win. Also, procedures errors by the DRC. If they can prove the DRC mishandle the process, example wrong application of rules or unfair hearing, the attributors could reverse to the decision. But Spurs' chances are lower if Rule 24.4 is appealed as written. The rule clearly says that once a club is relegated to the Safa Immature Division, player become free agent. Spurs were rejected from PSL, NSL to Safa structure, which triggered the rule. The DRC applied this rule and declared the contract void. A precedent exists for the interpretation. Also, players didn't resign or refirm their contract. If the contract didn't explicitly adapt it to the relegation or weren't updated, the attributors may rule that Spurs didn't do enough to retain the players. Chief acted in good faith. Kaizer chief waited to the DRC ruling before approaching the player, and having failed them since the appeal, they strengthened the case that no underhanded poaching happening, another point that may weaken Spurs' arguments. So, realistic outcome, most legal observed and insider expect the Safa attributed to uphold the DRC ruling, meaning both players will be free agent and chief signing will be legal and final. But Spurs could win if they find a technical or if the attributors interprets the ruling narrow. So, question: can Spurs win? Yes, they like the underdogs, mostly like outcome. Safa uphold DRC. Players are free agent, and why the delay? Because Safa is handling complex appeals legal. Thanks guys for joining. This is Sports Queen. My name is your witness. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe this channel. Enjoy.